Hey guys, it's Miss Gidry. We're going to talk today about our narrative writing prompt for the dinner party. So, for your narrative, it says complete the story. Directions: read the prompt in the box below. Make sure you write in complete sentences. Write to the appropriate audience. Use the appropriate point of view. Keep the original genre. Use dialogue and use the appropriate tone or method. Reread the short story, The Dinner Party, if needed. So your writing prompt says, write a detailed ending to the dinner party. Think about what the guests think, say, or do after they discover the cobra was underneath the dinner table throughout the whole dinner. Your requirements are you should have at least 10 pieces of dialogue and you must have a title and complete the story by including the following action and resolution. So if we continue to look, I'm going to show you guys your narrative writing rubric. So this is your rubric or how you're going to be graded on this particular assignment. First is your MLA heading. You're going to get 1 point for having your first and last name, 1 point for having your teacher's name, a point for putting your class, due date is 1 point, and then a line to the left-hand side of the page is 1 point. For having the title, The Dinner Party, and remember, don't forget to put the correct title and capitalization is 1 point, and using quotations since you're copying the original title to the story is also 1 point. So that's a total of 2. Dialogue, you have a minimum of 10 pieces of dialogue. This is where characters are speaking, and it's 1 point per piece of dialogue, which is 10 points total. And then I just have a little note here. It says you should have 10 different complete lines of dialogue, and you should try avoid using the word said. So that's 10 points. Correct use of dialogue. Quotations when people are speaking. So making sure that you have quotations around your dialogue every time is 1 point. When a new person speaks is 1 point. So if you have a conversation going between two characters, every time a new character speaks, you have to indent much like what you would do with a paragraph. Dialogue tags are used with each piece of dialogue. So you don't just have a bunch of lines with people speaking and we don't know who's talking. You have the person who's speaking's name and how they said it. So did they exclaim? Did they yell? Did they scream angrily? Maybe they whispered. Anything along those lines. Then minimum use of the word said in your dialogue tags, no more than twice. So you can only use the word said twice, and that's worth 1 point as well. So think about other words for said: exclaim, boasted, yelled, anything along those lines. 4 points total for this section. Understanding of plot. So do you understand the concept of plot in the story? Did you complete the following action, which is 2 points? So do you have a series of events that lead to the solving of the problem? So think about, we're leaving off with the climax. At this point, our protagonist, the naturalist, discovers that there is a cobra under the table. How or what is going to happen next? So how is he going to get rid of the cobra? How is he going to maybe keep the guests calm? Or what is he going to do to get the cobra out of the bungalow? Then your resolution. This is going to be, how was the problem solved? So what was the thing that he did that fixed the problem? And then what happened once the problem was solved? So what was the major ending to the story? If you think about the story, How to Eat Fried Worms, it ends with the boys talking about what happened after one of them won the bet, who won, and how they used the prize money. Understanding descriptive writing. Use of 5 senses to bring writing to life. This is 2.5 points. So do you have things like touch, taste, sight, sound, and smell? So maybe you're describing things like rough or soft or fluffy. Taste, like was it sour, tart, sweet? Sight, was it bright, dark? Maybe you put specific colors like green. And then sound, was it loud? Was it quiet? Did it rumble? And then smell. Was it pungent? Did it smell sweet? Things like that. Paints a vivid scene for the reader. So this is 2.5 points, and this is where those five senses come into play. So you use description to help the reader picture what is occurring in the story. Example, if you use the cobra hissed, you can see a cobra hissing, but if you use the aggressive cobra rose 2 feet in the air, reared its head back, and hissed angrily at the terrified guest, you're painting a more vivid picture for the reader. Now they know that the cobra is aggressive, that's why it's hissing. It is rising 2 feet in the air, so you can see it curled up and its head coming up. It reared its head back as if it's about to strike, and then it's hissing angrily. So you know that it's going to scare people if that cobra is angry. Point of view. So for your point of view, it's written in a third person point of view. And so your story, therefore, is going to continue in a third person point of view. You are writing it as a narrator retelling the story. You're going to use words like they, them, he, she, it. So all of that's worth 2 points. Written expression. So you're going to have another rubric, which is going to be our state rubric that you want to use for this, and we'll look at that in a second. And then you have your knowledge of language and conventions. So again, this is going to be your grammar that's going to be used based on the state rubric. Then you have your writing. No larger than 12-point font, and so that's going to be 1 point. So you can't just choose a random font like a 15 point or 18 to try and make it fill up an entire page. Your goal is to try and fill a page minimum on 12-point font. Paragraphs are indented. So did you indent every single paragraph? That's 1 point. And then one of the designated fonts are used. I'm saying that you guys need to use Times New Roman. You can also use Courier New, but those are the two that are most common to use when writing. So now let's look at our Louisiana Department of Education rubric. This is how we're going to score the written expression and the knowledge of language conventions. So we're going to talk about what you're going to have to do to get a 4, because we're always going to strive for that 4 or that perfect score. So for this one, the score of a 4 for a written expression, it says, is effectively developed with narrative elements and is consistently appropriate to the task, is effectively organized with clear and coherent writing, and establishes and maintains an effective style. In other words, is your story third person the entire time? Is it engaging? Does it make me want to keep reading? Does it keep me engaged is a big thing. And then are you answering the prompt? That means, are you finishing the story? Are you telling what happens once that naturalist determines where the cobra is and how he is going to either save the guest or save himself? And then for grammar, the highest you can get for your grammar is the score of a 3. So the student response demonstrates full command of the conventions of standard English at an appropriate level and complexity. There may be a few minor errors in mechanics, grammar, and usage, but your meaning is clear. So here it's going to say, have you actually went over and proofed your paper? Have you gotten someone else to proof it for you? Do you have the correct punctuation? Do you have very few spelling errors? Did you get the right 2, 2, and 2 when you're typing? Things like that are really going to pay off for your overall score. Now, a score of a 0 is extremely hard to get, and this is if it's underdeveloped or inappropriate, lacks organization and coherence, has no style, and you do not proof your paper, or if you don't turn something in. Notice at the bottom it says the reading is not scored in elicitive narrative stories. So we're not going to be scoring your reading comprehension of the story per se when you're writing, but how you finish the story. So could you finish the story in an effective manner that is going to keep me, the reader, interested? So I hope this helps you better understand your writing prompt and how you're going to be graded. So one more time, let's go over your prompt. Write a detailed ending to the dinner party. Think about what the guests think, say, or do after they discover the cobra was underneath the dinner table throughout the whole dinner. Remember, you should have a minimum of 10 pieces of dialogue, and you must have a title and complete the story by including the following action and resolution. I hope this helps you all, and if you have any questions, please let us know.